It is now my privilege to introduce our commencement speaker, Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Bill has been a proponent of math, engineering, and science since he was a young man. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering from Cornell University and worked as an engineering at the Boeing Company. He has numerous inventions spanning from the fields of avionics to the Fango baseball retriever. Bill Nye is the executive director of the Planetary Society, an organization whose mission is to create a better future by exploring other worlds and understanding our own. He is a proponent of space exploration and the Earth Dial project, deploying sundials around the world that are similar to the Mars dial on the Spirit and Opportunity rovers on Mars. He conceived the idea of the Mars dial and was a member of the design team. But what Bill Nye is best known for is his enthusiastic and attention-grabbing teaching of science. The character he created, complete with white lab coat and bow tie, has become an icon in elementary and middle schools worldwide. His Bill Nye the Science Guy program has taught tens of thousands of children scientific information through simple yet effective experiments with his famous "Did you know?" facts. He has written and hosted several other television series, including 100 Greatest Discoveries, The Eyes of Nye, and Solving for X, a program teaching children algebraic principles. He has written 5 children's books on subjects of germs, dinosaurs, science, and the ocean. He has won multiple Emmys and many awards, including the International Science Advocate Award and the Distinguished Award for Conservation. We're privileged and happy to have this educator and advocate of science with us today. Please join me in welcoming our 2013 commencement speaker, Bill Nye.
Wow. Thank you very much. This better be good. I do want to reassure you, I worked at Boeing for about 3 years, but don't worry, I was very well supervised. So let's get started, shall we? Distinguished faculty, parents, guests, alumni, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, and especially graduates. Welcome and especially congratulations. You made it. Nicely done. I have to say, looking at the program, you've almost made it. You've got about 18 minutes to go. When I finally got out, what I mean is when I was graduated, after a few relaxing years in engineering school, the world was full of trouble. During my college years, we wound down a miserable war in Southeast Asia. We experienced the first of several energy crises in which people waited in line for fuel for their vehicles. Gasoline prices skyrocketed to over $2 a gallon on Interstate 476. And we were still in the throes of the disco era, with its heavy bass, its leisure suits, and the Ford Pinto. That was something that no designer, no engineer, and especially no lawyer could be proud of. Now we're starting on another energy crisis. Here's hoping we can avoid another disco era. There were 2 world-sized problems that my classmates and I faced. And although both of these problems are more acute now than they were back then, to be fair, we did make a little progress. But as you commence your adult tax-paying lives, these 2 troubles loom larger than ever. They both are readily expressed with numbers. The first is the number of us. People are being born much faster than they are dying. With every passing 15 seconds, the world has more people on it. The other problem is our air. Its gas fractions are changing faster than they have ever in the last 65 million years. So in the 16 minutes that are left, as you graduates of this remarkable university and your parents, I want you to meet those two challenges. We want you to, dare I say it, change the world. So please consider the following. When my great-grandmother refused to let my grandmother go for a ride on the Wright brothers' new flying machine in College Park, Maryland, there were about 1.75 billion people in the world. During World War II, while my father worked a shovel in the Japanese prisoner of war camp, and my mother, a Navy lieutenant and cryptographer, worked to decipher the infamous German Enigma code, our human population had risen to about 2.3 billion. As a boy, at the New York World's Fair back in 1965, I remember well a large display, a tote board, depicting the estimated world population of humans. It fascinated my family and me. It was like the anticipation of watching the car's odometer roll all its nines to zeros at 100,000 miles. Oh, sorry, I say roll. I'm sorry. I say roll because mileage indicators back then were mechanical. But unlike a record turntable, you couldn't really make music with them. But by the way, in those old days, we used those turntables to play music rather than just scratch them. No, it's okay. If I'm going too fast, it's okay. While we were at the fair, the World's Fair, the world's population changed from 2,999,999,999 people in the world to 3 billion people, humans, on Earth. During your junior college year, Halloween before last, we reached 7 billion people, 7 billion humans on Earth. In my lifetime, more than doubling. Wait, there's more. By the time you graduates reach your billionth second here on Earth, when you're a little over 6 months into your 31st year, we will probably be over 9 billion. We may very well be well on our way to 12 billion humans on Earth. So what to do about it? You could run in circles screaming. In general, not so effective. Instead, to reduce the rate of human reproduction, the shortest cut is to raise the standard of living of women worldwide. Thank you. But I got to point out, it wasn't really my idea. In 1971 was not only the year that Lehigh admitted women, it was also the year that here, in the developed world, in the United States, in 1971, my mother could not get a credit card. Credit card companies would not issue a card to her for no other reason than she was a woman, because she was Mrs. Nye, even though she was a breadwinner with a master's degree. Oh yes, don't worry, they did issue her credit cards eventually, 10 years later, after she had gotten a doctorate. But I just want to remind everyone, especially the young women here and men, it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago at all that women did not get a fair shake, even in this country, the world's perhaps most developed, progressive country in that regard. In comparison, a woman's lot in life in many parts of the world isn't bad. It's just miserable. It sucks. But through education, we can lift the lives of women worldwide, which will lead to wanted children, well cared for, and richer, happier lives for all of us. For my mother, everything changed in barely a decade, just like that. Big changes can happen very fast. Back then in 1971, they didn't even have the internet. I know, yeah. What did they do all day? But changes were made even then when it was slow to share information. So now, 2013ers, I want you to get it done soon. Be part of a world where we all participate in business, science, and especially elections. Reckoning the world's population in thousands of millions, those are billions, is one thing, but in the world, it's changing much faster. In the world, you can reckon everything another way, not in millionths, but in millionths. When I rode my bicycle to the first Earth Day on the National Mall, I locked my bike to a flagpole flying the U.S. flag. And by the way, was that a remarkable version of the Star-Spangled Banner? Thank you. That was terrific. Thank you. That was just... the thing that is remarkable about the United States is change is built in. It's part of the way we do business rather than just opening fire. And so this is how I strongly believe the United States is still the world leader, not only in technology and science, but in thought. And I'm very hopeful that this class will be part of that and be part of what I hope will be world-changing changes. Anyway, I went to the first Earth Day. Back in 1970, rock and roll was giving way fully to Motown, but it was before disco. And so surf music was fading, but nevertheless, we pressed on. And I celebrated that I had ridden my bicycle to Earth Day without having driven a car, without having produced pollution. It seems a little hard to believe now, but in the United States, along with our rivers, which would catch fire from time to time, we had air pollution so thick, how thick was it, that people died in their sleep. With regulations in place today, that doesn't happen anymore, at least not here in the United States. So today's graduates, along with nearly everyone here, were born when the Earth's atmosphere, rounding to just one significant digit, held about 0.03%, or 300 parts per million, that's the same number, of carbon dioxide. Today, rounding to one digit, it's 0.04%, 400 parts per million. Now these are fractions, parts of millions, millionths. Nevertheless, this tiny change, when it first might seem like an insignificant fraction of an insignificant portion of our atmosphere, is changing our world. If we had an extraordinary car or vehicle that could somehow ride on an extraordinary road, a thoroughfare that somehow went straight up through the atmosphere, we could drive at regular highway speeds and be in outer space in less than 2 hours. It's not that far, because our planet's atmosphere is so extraordinarily thin. So it is this convergence of a burgeoning human population with a remarkably thin layer of atmosphere that is warming our world faster than ever in measurable geologic history. It's the challenge for you and your classmates as you step out into the workplace. A set of problems like no one before you has had to face. But we think you all are up to it. We, your parents, the other faculty members here, and I, think you can do this. We think you can, dare I say it, change the world. Our remarkable quality of life here in the developed world depends on electricity, mostly made by burning old fuel. We use almost all of the electricity in the world. This is perhaps no more obvious than here in Pennsylvania. But people around the planet aren't going to sit by and let the developed world use all the energy while they're pumping out all the carbon dioxide. And here is some very bad news. Apparently, we will never run out of fossil fuels. We'll never use it all up, not for centuries. Sure, there is oil, and less of the really sweet Pennsylvania crude than there used to be. But there is also natural gas, and there is oil sand, and tar sand, and oil shale, and some other words that geologists might make up, like shale tar, or oil goo, or what have you. There's coal Coal, coal, coal everywhere, right beneath our feet here today especially. Now, right now, no one pays for the smoke and gases that burning coal creates. So people worldwide will keep digging it up and they'll keep burning it. Unchecked coal will indirectly kill a great many of us. That is, unless you lead the world on new paths, new ways to provide electricity, new types of transportation, and new approaches to doing business. On the first Earth Day, there was emphasis on doing less. They wanted you to drive less, to use less clean water, so wear dirty clothes. And you know, humans are bad. Humans don't belong in the ecosystem, so don't even eat. But that turned out to be not especially popular. However, like any environmentalist, I'm a big fan of having more by just wasting less. That's akin to picking low-hanging fruit, which is good. But we can't just do less. The key to our future is instead to find ways to do more with less. Now, you are Lehigh graduates, or you will be in about 13 minutes. And you really are among the very best in the world at thinking about new arrangements, new tools, and new elegantly engineered designs to reach for the high-hanging fruit, the big prizes, and the great big prizes. That's what we want you to do for us. And I'm not kidding. I want you to change the world in new, exciting, and big ways. Wind turbines are cool. They're breezy, if you will. And Lehigh engineers, I hope, will put them where they'll do the most good. Solar panels, like the one in my never-wind-it watch, go back about 100 years. The cell in my watch is around 10% efficient, which is plenty for a watch. But how about if solar panels were 50% efficient or 80% efficient? Here's hoping a Lehigh material scientist becomes the inventor or venture capitalist or the lawyer who grasps the value of discovery and protects the idea, and he or she would change the world. If you can invent a better battery, one that can store more energy with less exotic metal, one that could handle the heat without loss of performance or just plain catching on fire, you would change the world all right, but you might also get rich. Crazy rich. Bill Gates rich. Head of IKEA guy rich. So speaking of electricity, here's an old problem. Nuclear power seemed like a great idea when I was a kid. You dig this stuff up, you purify it somehow, you fission it, you make heat, and you bury it again. I mean, how hard could it be? Well, it's turned out to be a lot messier than that and a great deal more expensive. I hope no Pennsylvanian ever forgets what happened, and especially what almost happened at the end of the Harrisburg Airport runway at the 3 Mile Island plant. No one here, none of us, will outlive the damage and heartache brought on by the Fukushima nuclear disaster. We have 430-some commercial nuclear plants around the world. 430. What if we have 14,430 or 43,030? There just will be another accident. There will be. We have tens of thousands of pounds of tons, kilos of nuclear fuel and nuclear weapons on Earth. Nothing we throw away here goes away. It all remains on the planet. In all this nuclear promise and nuclear disappointment, there may be an opportunity. There may be some way for some industrialist, some Lehigh graduate to, I'm not kidding, change the world. And it is sobering for me, and perhaps for more than a few of your parents, to consider that you all, Lehigh University graduates, know more physics than Isaac Newton. You know more physics than Albert Einstein did. You know more about the universe than Galileo or Copernicus knew. I can guarantee you that significant discoveries will be made in your lifetime that will change the world. Imagine this, everybody. When I was a kid, no one had a good theory. as to what happened to the ancient dinosaurs. Mrs. McGonigal, my second grade teacher, read to us from a book, as she was told, and she told us that dinosaurs had small brains, and they were stupid. So all the mice and the rabbits and the bats took all the dinosaur food, beat them up, and the dinosaurs disappeared. And even Mrs. McGonigal knew that was just lame. I mean, I remember thinking, Miss McGonigal, really? Come on, really? I'm a Tyrannosaurus, you're a rat. Okay, we're done. Really. But everybody, in my lifetime, we discovered the meteoric impact crater near Chicxulub, Mexico. The ejecta from that collision shot out over a diameter bigger than the Earth itself. The Earth was surrounded with red-hot coals for days on end, set the whole place on fire, cooked everybody. And just a few of our ancestors made it here. It was like science fiction, except it was real. And by the way, as a result of that discovery, the airburst over Chelyabinsk, Russia, and the near miss of asteroid 2012 D814, with those, people are at last appreciating the astonishing threat of an asteroid impact. Now, I remind you, just because something is very unlikely doesn't mean it won't kill you. You are the first generation of engineers, scientists, educators, and foreign policy wonks who can get humankind to do something about an oncoming impactor. What's it going to be, everybody? It's going to be a gravity space tugboat? A swarm of rock vaporizing laser spacecraft? A kinetic impactor? Or just a big bomb in space? Well, whatever it is, we're counting on you. An asteroid could change everything very, very quickly. And get this, you guys, in my early school years, no one had yet proven the existence of tectonic plates and the global circulation of salt in the sea. Oh, people suspected it, but it wasn't really proven until I was in elementary school. We have now plate tectonics, and that understanding has changed geology in the way we view our planet and every other planet forever. I'm claiming that there will be similar world-changing discoveries in the coming years, in your lifetimes. For example, recently, we've come to know that the universe is bigger than anyone thought, and not only that, it's accelerating in its expansion. And do you know why it's accelerating? Nobody knows why. And for sure, if a Lehigh engineer or scientist could figure it out, he or she may be able to control energy in a way that science fiction writers have only dreamed of. And all these concerns about climate and the atmosphere and the human population will be a quaint remembrance from early in the 21st century, back when you were graduated in 2013, before the discovery of the darkons. The darkons, the particles of dark energy. Or matter. Sorry, just a little theory I'm working on. Get back to you on that. Heck, to physicists, everything else is particles. Crying out loud, why not dark? Along with the evidence of common sense, researchers have proven that humans are all one people, one species. There really is no such thing as race. The color of our ancestors' skin, and ultimately my skin and your skin, is a consequence of ultraviolet light and of latitude and climate. We are one species, each of us much more alike than different. We all came from Africa. We are all the same star stuff. We are all going to live and die on the same planet, a pale blue dot in the vastness of space. So I'd like to give you some advice, just plain old advice, like walking between a wall of dartboards and a line of people with darts is a dangerous shortcut to take. Always wear shoes when you're in a thumbtack factory. And don't be a backseat driver. especially if there is no one in the front seat driving. So here it is. Here's my advice. If you're going to get a bucket of water thrown in your face, untuck your shirt. Yeah, untuck your shirt. You might not think it would make much difference. A cotton shirt like this one is hydrophilic. Water's going to stick to it. There's capillary action. True enough. But a shirt tail, even a water-loving one, directs a great deal of the blast around your waistband, so you get a lot less cold water in your trousers. I know this to be true because I did it on the Science Guy show over and over. It's a unique experience. Everyone you ever meet has unique experience. Everyone you ever meet knows something that you don't. Even my old boss. As clueless as I thought he was, knew some things that I didn't. Today, auto mechanics debug software. Cooks know how to use copper to control egg proteins. Bricklayers have intimate knowledge of the strength of materials. So, my friends, respect their knowledge. Learn from them. It will bring out the best in them, and it will bring out the best in you. And by the way, once in a while, to do a good job, you got to take a couple buckets to the face. Now, speaking of buckets of water, in your lifetime, we have proven that Mars was once a very wet place. It's possible that in the next few years, the extraordinary will happen. It is possible in the next few years we may discover evidence of life, some sort of fossil Martian microbe, a Marscrobe, perhaps, on Mars, that other world. It would surely change this world. It would change the way each of us thinks of his or her place in the cosmos, our place in space. The Spirit, Opportunity, and Curiosity Mars rovers, as President Gass pointed out, are each fitted with a photometric calibration target, a test pattern for the cameras. These also serve as a wonderful little astronomical instruments, sundials, and so we call them the Mars dials. Now, when you put a message in a bottle and toss that bottle in the ocean or Lake Erie, you might have some vague hope that it will be returned to you someday from someone in some exotic place like Sydney or Qingdao or Jersey City. But perhaps you're hoping to remotely touch someone you'll never meet. Along the aluminum edge of each of those 3 Mars dials, it says, "To those who visit here, we wish a safe journey and the joy of discovery." The joy of knowing. That's what drives us. That's science. It brings out the best in us. It makes our species worthy of the future. I often reflect on the words of my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Cochran. She told us that there are more stars in the sky than grains of sand on the beach. Now, my friends, there are, by any measure, a lot of grains of sand on a beach. Mrs. Cochran, really? There are more than you can count, of course, but not only that, there are perhaps more than you can imagine. So the summer after 3rd grade, I stood on the beach in Delaware, and I got to thinking about her assertion. Does she mean all of the grains of sand that I can see? Does she mean the ones I can't see, the ones that must cover the beach a few meters deep and a few thousand nautical miles north and south? I mean, Mrs. Cochran, that is a lot of grains of sand. So there are more stars than all of those grains? In a moment, I was paralyzed by self-doubt. I mean, I was just a little kid standing on a beach, and that beach is but one of many beaches on a planet that turns out to be, in the cosmic scheme of things, pretty small. A speck, really. Furthermore, my home speck, the Earth, is just a speck orbiting a star that really, considering all the other sand-grain numerous stars, is just another speck in the galaxy of stars. The galaxy, in turn, being another speck among billions and billions of galactic specks. I am a speck on a speck, orbiting a speck in the middle of deep, spacey specklessness. I don't matter at all. But then I think, wait, I have a brain, albeit only this big. My old boss, of course, quite a bit smaller, but I can imagine all of this. That is wonderful. That is remarkable. That is venerable. That is worthy of respect. So, class of 2013, here's wishing you the joy of discovery. Keep reaching, keep seeking, keep using your abilities to bring out the best in those around you, and let them bring out the best in you. And as you do, you can and you will, dare I say it, change the world. Congratulations, you all. This has been an honor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you indeed.